1797, Sixers absolutely demolished the Pelicans in the second half, and based off Furkan Korkmaz. This is Six of the Universe. Great win, great game. It's always a great game when there are 4 or 5 shooters on the floor, space in the floor. You don't have a guy in the dunker spot. Not just, oh my god, there's so much to go into it. One of the most underrated things, and we saw this first with the little flash of minutes that he had against the Brooklyn Nets, and then we saw it more extensively tonight, but we all knew that if you gave Joel Embiid 4 shooters on the floor, you would basically space it out for Embiid to score. We knew that was going to be a thing. But you want to know something that I did not know until watching that preseason game and tonight's game? How much easier it is for Joel Embiid to make a play on the ball. I did not know that that was going to be a thing. Now, going back to Kansas, back when he was in college, I've always thought that Embiid had passing potential out of the post. I mean, if you think about what Nikola Jokic does on the pick and roll, it's basically he holds the ball up high and then he gives a little pitch. It's not that hard. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Nikola Jokic. I'm just saying that part of the reason Nikola Jokic has the success that he has is not only do you get to play with guards in Denver, but Mike Malone schemes things out, and it really is an open court kind of game in which Nikola Jokic can pick you apart. Embiid is a pretty smart player. We've seen that on the defensive end of the ball, but we've just never been able to see if Embiid could play in that role high up the top of the key, hand the ball off in a dribble handoff, or roll to a certain spot mid range, or I'll go to the rim and I'll finish in the rim off of these 2-man, 3-man games. We had just never really seen that to that extent. But you were seeing it tonight where here's the difference between Ben Sixers and Joel Sixers. When Joel had the ball without a guy in the dunker spot, from the defensive standpoint, where do we double? When Ben's in the game, it's a free double. We know where we're doubling from. And because you're doubling from the paint, it's a hard interior window to get that in there to begin with. Add into the fact that Ben Simmons is too lazy to put his hands up and flash to the ball. Yeah, period, though. There are many ways you could flash to the ball. You could flash to the rim, or you could flash out to the corner or some space on the perimeter to get the ball off of a dump off, which many guards did tonight. Ben doesn't do either of those things for you, so as an off-ball player, Ben Simmons, non-existent. Virtually, absolutely non-existent. And so it's an easy double team. Why would I worry about leaving Ben wide open? What's he going to do? He's not going to flash to the ball. He's not going to flash to a corner shot or whatever the case may be. He has no off-ball awareness. So what do I lose from sending a man from Ben Simmons? I don't lose anything from a defensive standpoint at the opposing team. I just don't lose anything. Now, with 4 shooters on the floor, do I send someone away from a 45% Steph Curry? No. Do I send someone away from Danny Green? And I'll get to him specifically separately. Oh my God, but he is a shooter, right? Do I send someone away from him? Do I send someone away from George Niang? Do I send someone away from Tyrese Maxey who could put the ball on the floor and get to the rim? The answer to all the above is no, or at least not consistently. So you have to pick and choose when to trap the ball, when to send the other man, and your rotations better be on tight because the shooters are going to shoot, or the driver and Tyrese Maxey is going to go straight to the rim. There's just so much. It isn't just spacing. There's so much better off-ball movement, and there's so much better catch and shoot ability without a 6'10" guy just standing there with no interest whatsoever in basketball. Addition by subtraction, and the same thing with the trade. Yes, I know he made his All-Star games. Whoopie damn do. I know all defensive, and they recovered in the second half. The first half, I thought the Pelicans just hit some tough shots, and that wasn't really sustainable. But they kept the clamps on. You hold them to under 100 points. That's a bad Pelican basketball team, but still, you passed your first test. You looked, especially in the second half, you look like a feasible unit. I don't expect top 5 defense, but as long as you're anywhere from, let's say, rank 11 to 13th and your offense is the way it was tonight, you're going to be fine. You're still going to win the vast majority of your games. There was never a P requirement that said only tough free defensive teams can play over 600 basketball. There's never been that. Otherwise, what would we say to the Mike D'Antoni, Steve Nash, Phoenix Suns? Seriously. The point of this game and future games without 2-5 is this. We will live. We will live. His media accomplishments don't get on the floor. If he was the level of player that his media accomplishments say he was, then it would have been a big loss. Then he would be worthy of the contract and we wouldn't have had this problem at all. But the fact is, he's fallen short in his career, and instead of responding, now he wants to destroy the whole thing, which I find remarkable. I don't know, but self-destructive millionaire. Like, literally, his parents need to get involved, if they are any involved. People who, definitely not Rich Paul, you need to get someone in this kid's life because he's literally burning millions in the toilet, not just the fines and the suspension, but everyone around the league. You're looking at this guy pouting, and you're looking at young players who are improving and working on their game and a part of your rotation. And you're like, do I want to trade that for this? No. So, someone needs to be in Ben's ear that this is not okay. I watched Gilbert Arenas' video, and he's like, oh, they just want to antagonize him so that they'll be able to hold him without pay. That shouldn't be necessary. If you can't come to camp but can't do the work, there should not need to be a conduct detrimental to the team. If your behavior is detrimental to the team, then that's it. Period. It shouldn't have to be some scheme. If I come into work and I throw a bunch of chairs, whatever the case may be, I'm going to get fired. That's just how life works. And 2-5, for the first time in his adult life, has been exposed to how life works. And I know that that's a lot for him to deal with, but it is what it is. But for me, I've said this a couple of times, and I'll say it again. Daryl, I don't care to win this trade. First of all, I don't believe in the value to begin with. That's why I've been diminishing it in videos lately, because it's like, dude, he's not that guy. Like, the whole point of him coming back and playing was to bring his value up. I've seen a man play for 275 games. There's no playing up of his value. He is what he is. So, he is what he is, it is what it is. So do you think that him playing a bunch of meaningless regular season games is all of a sudden going to get you some top-notch player. Nah, come on. Watching this game, watching this team play, I'm just saying to them, end it, please. End it for the locker room. End it for the fact that you can't afford to have $33 million sitting at home. Even if I agree that this was the right approach, which I don't. Watching this game, particularly in the first half, some people like the second unit needs a backup point guard. That was until Furkan Korkmaz showed up. But it is true to a degree. The Sixers can't afford, they don't have that level of depth. Tobias Harris is another player who was pretty solid, like 14 rebounds. And it's good for him to be dominant on the guys. If you are not a dominant, transcendent scorer, how else can you dominate the game? You dominate on the boards, you compete defensively. Pretty good overall game by Tobias Harris. He's a great number 3, but he's not Joel Embiid's number 2. And yes, we would like to get his number 2 from a bench trade. Just might not be available, or at least not in the sense of ready impact all-star. So you're probably going to have to acquire young players, develop young players. You see the development of Tyrese Maxey, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing. This idea of, we are a title contender with Ben. Are we? You lost to Atlanta. So are we a title contender with Ben? I think this front office should think about that more closely than it has. Because the team that played against the Pelicans, if you had that level of shooting against the Hawks, you win a game 7 and you only score 96 points. So really think carefully if Ben Simmons is in fact a franchise level talent. Because 275 games of his career say no. That's just a fact. I just want him traded. I literally have to see the words Ben Simmons traded to know absolutely, without question, that he will never suit up for the Philadelphia 76ers ever again. Period. I would gladly replace his entire salary so that he could sit home. That's how much I don't want Ben Simmons in a Sixers uniform. I would throw away millions of dollars to assure that he would never suit up at the Wells Fargo Center ever again. Okay, there's that. We'll get back to the game. Second half. Furkan Korkmaz. Now, we all know that Doc Rivers has been trying to get Shake Milton, first and foremost, when Ben was still a player, he was trying to get Shake Milton into this Lou Williams role, which I thought he could do too. But then all throughout last season, and with the game as a whole, he doesn't have the natural handling ability or really scoring ability for that. So there's that. Shake Milton is not a combo guard. He's not a point guard. I think he's a wingman. He's a catch-and-shoot guy. And if he shoots the ball well, then he could start penetrating and getting to the rim. But first and foremost for him is the shot. He's not a guard. Furkan Korkmaz, on the other hand, he's looking like a guard. You have 3 players with 5 assists tonight. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and I know I hadn't gotten on my Maxey hype, and we will get to the Maxey hype, but Embiid, Maxey, and Korkmaz with 5 assists, and Furkan. Once Furkan starts seeing a bucket, 2 buckets, 3 buckets in a row, and then all of a sudden things just light up for Furkan Korkmaz. It's so much more natural for him to be a point guard than it is to be a wingman. And this is one of those where it's not the Sixers' fault for putting him at wingman. He's 6'7", so you would think that he could grow into a wingman. I thought he could be a Mike Miller type. It just so happened that he wasn't able to go into his body. It is what it is. But moving him over to the point guard position, I saw something that totally different player. Totally different basketball player. When I put the ball in his hands and I asked him to operate a pick and roll, he's a lot more comfortable. And if you think back to the summer league, it was the same thing. Burkhan Korkmaz with the ball in his hands, he's able to go in and score. So it's Burkhan Korkmaz, the backup point guard, 22 points, 5 assists, although it came off for 4 for 4 for 3. But he shot 11 shots, only 4 of them were free. So he was able to get to the rim, he's able to create, he's able to attack off the bounce, and able to do different things. So it wasn't just a shot. A positive first game and a bounce back game for Burkhan Korkmaz after the preseason loss to Detroit. And, I even want to sprinkle it some with Joel Embiid. Because again, Joel Embiid screening and Burkhan Korkmaz with that quick trigger on pick and roll 3-point shot, that's interesting. I think we have solved how to use Burkhan Korkmaz to maximum efficiency for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think that this point guard combo roll off the bench, what was meant for Shake Milton, should go to Burkhan Korkmaz. Jordan Niang is a veteran's veteran. He came off the bench, he hit threes, he defends. Perfect backup power forward to Tobias Harris. But when we were struggling a bit in the first half, I was thinking to myself, we love to spread the floor for Joel Embiid. There's 4 shooters on the floor for Embiid. Why not have Niang over Tobias so Tobias Harris can basically destroy other team's second unit? If you have Tobias and Korkmaz coming off the bench together, that's very similar to when Hale and Lou Williams came off the bench in that very successful Clipper run. It's just a thought. You don't always have to have your max player or your big salary guy playing. It's kind of similar to when Doug Collins had Thad Young off the bench, and Doug is like, sometimes our guys can finish the game. I don't necessarily need to have the best starting lineup. That's the kind of thing where I think here, where I think Niang fits the lineup, even if Tobias Harris is a better player. Just an interesting food for thought there. And then you can't go any game without mentioning the bad. So, Danny Green. Daryl, why did you resign this guy? But if we think the Ben Simmons gets off on his reputation, I want to know who else gets off on his reputation? Danny Green. I do not ever want to hear the words, Danny Green is a good defender, ever again. I don't want to hear it. It's leaking on to his man defense now. Last year it was, I'm the slowest MO on the planet. I can't guard a screen to save my life. Now I just can't guard anyone to save my life. 18 worthless minutes, 3 fouls, constantly got burned by Nicole Alexander-Walker. Just bench him. Bench Danny Green. I know Isaiah Joe struggled off of the bench. But let's get to the point. Is Isaiah Joe a better starter than Danny Green? Probably. You want another shooter on the floor? There's Isaiah Joe. Bench Danny Green. I've been saying it last year, and I'm saying it even more this year. The signing was stupid, but you did it. So you have to adjust. Bench Danny Green. He's not a starter for a championship team, which you profess to be, with or without the Ben Simmons trade. You say you're a championship contender. Contenders don't have people like Danny Green starting. Please bench him. The Andre Drummond experience was a weird one. First, I'm going to say 6 minutes of Andre Drummond. This dude is flopping around with the ball, an open court turnover, and it's like, and he was trying to create his own shot, and it's like, no, we got the Andre Drummond for Detroit. We got the Andre Drummond from the Cavaliers. The guy who thinks of himself more as what he is, not the pirate in his all. But then in the second half, I'm guessing Doc told him, look, you're on a minimum. We brought you here to do 2 things, rebound and defend. And that's what he did in the second half. Finished with 17 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. I want second half Andre Drummond, not first half Andre Drummond. Don't take shots. Don't think you can create your own shot off the dribble. You can't. Stop it. You're flailing your arms, you're flailing your shoulders. I'm amazed some of them weren't even called offensive foul. Just stop it already. you could do a little dribble pitch, that's fine. You could read that corner pass, that's fine. Here's the thing, Andre. I would rather you try to shoot a jump shot than you try to dribble a ball. Seriously, enough. That was a mixed game for Andre Drummond, but overall, pretty good defensively. All right, now Tyrese Maxey love. In the first half, Tyrese Maxey only has 6 shots. Now, I'm going to give Doc Rivers a little bit of credit here. Before the game, Doc Rivers is like, Tyrese Maxey, you're very aggressive. Tyrese Maxey, go score. And this was big because remember, Doc Rivers was going on about Rajon Rondo. And I'm like, no, if he were that player, he would have been scouted differently. He would have looked differently in Kentucky, not Rondo. So, credit to Doc Rivers for changing his tune, seeing what he has, and adjusting to that. But in the first half, you saw once again Tyrese Maxey play off the ball, just not really being as aggressive as he should be, because a lot of what we were doing was our 5-out pinction action. Jerome B flares up top, swing it to a corner man. And I don't mind that action. I guess if you're going to run that action and Tyrese is your point guard, let Tyrese Maxey catch the ball off the corner, because it just doesn't make sense to feed Maxey off of the initial action. If Maxey were a catch-and-shoot guy, he shot 2 for 3 tonight from 3-point land. But if Maxey were this guy that you don't trust him with the ball in his hand and he just spot out at the corner, that'd be one thing. But Tyrese Maxey is a very gifted dribble drive player. He could get to the rim anytime he wants with some headies, spins, a floater. Tyrese Maxey has a very good dribble drive game for a second-year guard. And that's what he's elite at. Yeah, I said it. I'll put the word out there. He's an elite guy at getting to the basket. So, how is this going to work with a combo guard like Maxey? And again, he got 5 assists. It's not as though it was selfish. Shoot first. It's okay. And B will get his touches. Tobias will get his touches. But you got to get yourself fed. That's what a dual combo guard is. It's like a dual quarterback. In a way to shout out Rom 2.0. It's like Lamar Jackson. It's like Michael Vick. And Tyrese is growing in how to use this. So all this worrying about the point guards, your point guards, Maxey had only 1 turnover. Kormaz only had 1 turnover. Your point guards took care of the ball tonight. Your point guards got you into the offense tonight. I feel like the offense was a solid B+. I thought offensively we executed pretty well. Defensively, in the second half, you turned it on. I thought we did a better job denying screens. There was a little bit of switching screens that I saw. But generally, I thought we played more aggressive on the ball defense, both in transition and in half court in the second half. I thought we had a much better defensive effort, and I think Doc Rivers would agree with that. So, next game, Friday, tomorrow, we play the Brooklyn Nets. And I know everyone wondering, will this guy play? I hope not. Stay in California. Go to Serbia. I don't care. Stay away from the Sixers. Because we executed, we shot the ball well. I could go through a whole season of that and live with the results in the playoffs. Shooters and Embiid, I want to test this out. If Dwight Howard and shooters could get to the finals for the Atlanta Magic, put it this way, is Tyrese Maxey as good as Jimmy and Nelson? I believe so. Is Tobias Harris as good as Rashard Lewis? Especially back then, Rashard Lewis was on the decline of his career. The big issue is this. Who's Ahito Turkoglu? It's not Lamar Odom 2.0, but you can damn straight trade that man. Daryl. Just like Doc Rivers said he has to protect the team, it's your job to build the team. And you're wasting $33 million every single day. Trade him and move on. Six of the universe. Peace.